public plea for inclusion in the system that is assessing criminal responsibility. They want justice for their lost family members and for themselves and for the children who have been left behind. They carry heavy burdens here today, as we can all only imagine. They have previously asked you in our communications with you that all communications should occur between their attorneys and the press. They have come here today to make statements, and this is the first time that they have done so. However, they will not answer questions. Any questions that you have will have to be answered by the attorneys. They continue to request that after this press conference is over, any communication regarding this disaster occur through their attorneys. They request that no one, press or otherwise, contact them, and that any contact be with their attorneys. Please respect their motivations and their emotions. Today is a very hard day for them, but every day has been hard since they lost their families and their loved ones. They are here because they are asking for answers, and they know answers can come only from that criminal defendant who is facing charges in Schoharie arising out of this crash, Mr. Hussein. They understand that the criminal case is being handled by the district attorney, and they understand that they cannot stop that process nor change the decisions that are being made there. However, they also understand that no one knows more about the condition of that limousine in which their loved ones died, or how it was put back on the road in the condition it was, than Mr. Hussein. They know that Mavis did not do the brake work that Mavis said that it did. They know that Mr. Hussein does know what happened, and they understand that in the course of the criminal case, if there is a plea bargain reached, he can be made to tell a full story. If reaching a plea bargain means the acceptance of responsibility, let that responsibility carry with it the truth, and let the truth come out. This is called an allocution, and they are asking for a full, complete, factual allocution of the entire events that occurred before this crash. These families ask and deserve to have a full and complete allocution from this man. Why was his limousine out in service when it was a death trap without any rear brakes, critically corroded and leaking rear brake line, faulty master cylinder, contaminated brake fluid, and an illegally placed livery safety inspection sticker without ever having been subjected to an extensive DOT safety inspection, all in violation of the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration regulations for passenger CVM carriers. Why did Mavis say that the limousine at least has brakes now when they released it in May of 2018, when in fact neither of its rear brakes worked after Mavis purportedly inspected and undertook to repair the SBS and those brakes in September of 2016 and again in May of 2018, and other critically defective parts were left unrepaired? We know the owner and Mavis have made conflicting assertions about these matters, which created and launched a death trap onto the public roads, which caused the deaths of not only these poor, unwitting, and undeserving innocent passengers invited into this death trap through the joint acts of the owner and Mavis, but also two pedestrians. If Mavis has some responsibility, and we are certainly led to believe that they do, why are they not indicted with Mr. Hussein? Should Mr. Hussein receive a plea bargain and walk away without telling these families why and by whose culpability these 20 people lost their lives? This is why the families are here today. Carrie Hawkins from the Francisco Law Firm is going to be making the next statement, and then I will introduce the next speaker. Thank you.
First, I'd like to welcome you to Amsterdam and thank you for coming today. As Cynthia stated, my name is Carrie Hawkins. I've been at the Francisco Law Firm for over 24 years. I understand and respect the law. My cousin was a major in the state police. My brother served our country as a Marine and is currently a law enforcement corporal. My boss is a former judge and current public defender, serving Montgomery and surrounding counties. When my grandson was born with heart defects, the Amsterdam community stood beside my own family. As current president of this women's club, we serve and give back to our community. We've cooked meals for families at the Ronald McDonald House, given out Halloween candy with this city of Amsterdam on our bridge, and participated in numerous fundraisers. We are Amsterdam strong. Because in this life, we must give back and pay it forward. But when my friends and family members got the devastating news of this accident, everything changed. It was time to stand up and help them however we could, by filing estate and guardianship petitions, by attending vigils and fundraisers, by honoring their children at community events, by answering every late-night phone call I received or text message, and now publicly pleading to the judge that they get answers as to who is responsible for the deaths of their children. If it is not only the defendant currently charged, then who else is responsible? We've met first responders from Schoharie who cannot get the images of that day out of their minds. They deserve answers. We watch the 3 children growing up without their parents. I personally see their pictures all over Facebook. I meet with them. I speak with them. They deserve answers. Joe and Beth make sure the girls live their best life every day. Tom and Linda wake up and put their feet on the ground every day. Jameson lives with survivor's guilt every day. Today, they have summoned their strength to come here as a plea to the politicians that were instrumental in passing the limo laws, the Schoharie District Attorney, and the judge in this case, to see that they are given the answers that they deserve. If indeed the defendant is not the only responsible party, then who is? If Mavis did not do their job, they deserve to know. If New York State DOT did not do their job, they deserve to know. I would ask that you respect them today and support them, and that they be given all the information to know what has led to the deaths of their family members, and to hold all of those responsible accountable. They deserve, if nothing else, accountability and justice.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you all for being here. I'm standing here with Sam Bersessi, who is the father of Savannah Bersessi, who was one of the souls that was lost in this tragic accident of October 6th of 2018. On that date, the Husseins, particularly Mr. Nauman Hussein, his family, and specifically Mavis Discount Tire, inflicted an unspeakable but entirely preventable horror on these families and their lost loved ones. If in fact Mr. Hussein is going to be accepting a plea deal, and we understand that that's entirely within the province of the District Attorney's Office, we commend the District Attorney's Office for the difficult and hard work and investigative work they've been doing. But if in fact he's going to accept a plea, we need Mr. Hussein to engage in and fully cooperate with a plea allocution and a full and proper plea allocution. to discuss and explain the truth of the interactions between him and his company, as well as Mavis, into why this vehicle was allowed to be on the road in the condition it was in on that tragic date. We need to know what Mavis knew and when they knew it. And Mr. Hussein is in a unique position, if in fact he's going to plea, to actually do something to help these families recover to the extent that they can, and that will never change what happened. But he's in a unique position to actually help them if he does the right thing. Thank you so much.
This is Beth Muldoon. I'm going to read a statement that she has written. October 6, 2018 was like every other Saturday. We were spending the day with our granddaughters. Little did we know it would later become a parent's worst nightmare. On that day, my son, my daughter-in-law, and many of their friends lost their lives in a horrific, preventable accident. That was the day our two precious granddaughters, 16 months and 4 years at the time, lost their mommy and daddy, 3 of their aunts, a godfather, and 2 uncles. Time stood still. Every night as I tuck them into bed, my heart hurts for them. Every morning when they wake up and I look into their eyes, I remember the life they once had. They were a perfect, fun-loving family of 4. These girls have been robbed of so much, never having the chance to see or hug their parents again. No more laughing and playing with their mommy and daddy that all 4 enjoyed so much. Even at such a young age, they know what they have lost. Well, nothing can bring them back. Justice must be served for these 2 little girls. Thank you. The next person who's going to speak is Linda King.
So good afternoon. My name is Linda King, and I'm the mother of the 4 King sisters who died in the limo crash. Our 4 daughters were girls every parent would be proud of. Abby was a school teacher. She taught English and remedial reading. She was also a mother to 2 beautiful girls who are now orphans. Mary was an engineer and a first lieutenant in the Army. She served in Iraq and was proud to have been a leader in building the first school for girls in El Basra. She was a mom to a son who is now an orphan too. Allie was a compassionate animal lover, and a customer service rep who enjoyed making her co-workers' mornings special by bringing homemade baked goods. Amy, our youngest, was a nurse. She worked for the Justice Center, bringing justice to families who lost loved ones in state agencies. On that fateful day in October, they were celebrating Amy's 30th birthday. A fun-filled day with a group of their friends they grew up with, friends who were godparents to their children, friends they went to college with, friends whose lives intertwined with theirs for years, friends who ate at my dining room table a lot. They did the right thing that day by hiring a limo for their ride, something we all tell our kids: don't drink and drive. Don't drink and drive, as that's what limos are for. And so they did. They hired a limo from Mr. Hussein, a man whose negligent behavior put an out-of-state service vehicle back on the road and put an unqualified driver in the driver's seat. Now, almost 2 years later, we are being told there are meetings discussing a plea deal with no jail time. This is not justice for the 20 lives that were lost. This is a cop-out. Why the rush now to settle? We all understand the delays due to COVID, but we are willing to wait for what is fair and just, and for what the deceased deserve. We have to live with this tragedy for the rest of our lives. We want the facts told, and if there are other guilty parties involved, we want them indicted too. The facts of this tragedy need to be told, and all the guilty parties accountable. Thank you for your time.
Linda has another grandson, Isaac, who lives in West Seneca, and his grandmother could not be here, but she did ask our office to read a statement on her behalf. Her name is Dawn Dyson. When you Google search my son Robert Dyson or his wife, Mary King Dyson, their pictures flood the internet. They still make national news. The Schoharie limo tragedy, the horror limo crash. You might even catch a glimpse of my grandson Isaac or his two little cousins, Archer and Elle, who have all been left with no parents and the loss of many of their aunts and uncles. I believed that the justice system, with the state police, NTSB, and forensic investigations, would someday prove who was responsible for their deaths. I believed that someday, when my grandson asked if I made sure that whoever was responsible was brought to justice, I would be able to say yes. Yes, I did. It is now my understanding that there is a plea agreement being discussed for one of the people responsible for the limousine and the deaths of so many. If there is not enough evidence to solely convict him, then who else played a role in the condition of that limousine? Who else should be indicted and held responsible? I need the entire story to be told by Mr. Hussein himself so that I know that justice has been served, even if he prepares a written statement detailing the events. What other people are also responsible? I want the judge and district attorney to make this mandatory as part of any plea agreement. If Mavis was responsible for the brake system that failed in the limo, then why are they not being held accountable? If New York State DOT did not mandate the removal of the license plates when it was deemed unsafe, why are they not being held accountable? My name is Dawn Dyson. I was unable to attend today, but I really wanted this read aloud so that the judge and district attorney are able to understand what needs to be seen in the next Google search for my son, Robert Dyson, and his wife, Mary King Dyson. Justice. Isaac, his cousins, and all us families left behind deserve justice.
So we'll answer any questions that you have.
Do you have the families who's been asked to prepare victim impact statements?
Yes.
How many of them?
How many families were asked?
So far.
I don't know that I'm aware of all of them that were asked, but I know that some of them were asked. I would assume all of them were asked, but I'm not aware.
When was the last time you had a conversation with District Attorney Mallory?
It's been a while. It's been a while. There's conversations that occur between the families and the district attorney, but the lawyers in the civil action have not been accepted into those conversations.
When it comes to the civil cases, what kind of role does this allocution play in that?
I think that if we know the truth, then we can pursue justice on a civil level.
To further answer your question, so the allocution, if in fact that occurs, and it occurs properly, for all these people who sit here behind you and all the other families that actually aren't here today, that allocution can play a very important role in the civil case in assisting both our offices and the other firms that are involved in this in helping to prove our case. We know a great deal about what happened. We know a great deal about what happened. But there's more information that's in the minds of Mr. Hussein as well as the individuals from Mavis that we need to know. And Mr. Hussein is in a unique position, as I said before, to give that information in court through a proper allocution.
The acceptance of responsibility is an acceptance of all the responsibility for what he did. And I will tell you that we have not yet been able to serve him with the civil papers because he has not made himself availed of service and has not accepted service through his criminal attorney. We do not know where he is. That is not acceptance of responsibility.
To further what Cynthia just said, so Mr. Hussein could, if he chose, tell his criminal attorney, yes, go ahead and accept service upon us. He could tell his criminal attorney, go ahead, here's the address where I am, I will accept service. Neither of those things have happened, ever.
The option is given trial or be part of the plea process. What would the option be if there's a plea?
I can answer from, in my mind, that is not our role. I don't think we should be running the criminal case. I think that's run by the district attorney, and that's her job. What we're saying is, if you are going to take a plea bargain, make him accept responsibility by telling the entire story.
How has that been brought to them before? So is it, conversations you've had or the family has had? So the fact that we're here today, that plea of the families has gone unanswered, completely unanswered, or?
The families have had conversations with the district attorney, and they have not felt in many occasions that they were being taken either seriously or that they were being listened to as far as what their needs, desires, and hopes were.
Allocution.
Is that normal?
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Anything else? All right, well, thank you all for coming.
Thank you, everyone. Safe travels home.
Sir?